So if I put it in a nutshell, I take your performance from a mental standpoint. How do you handle pressure? How do you handle stress? How do you react, make decisions? And I create either drills, tasks, or programs where I manipulate it, make it harder, make it more intense, and see how you act in those situations with these drills. And I measure it and it can say, this is where you performed and how do we progress? So from the nutshell of it is taking that ability to adapt to stress, handle pressure, perform consistently as possible. Keyword as possible. You're not going to be consistent every time, but I want to be able to, can you do it as consistent as possible? Now, how does that look? So he mentioned some of the drills like with the Fit Light system. I worked with that company for about 5 years now. And everyone thinks I own it or something, but that's funny because we're synonymous. Our logos even are similar. So it's like, I have a close relationship with them, but those drills, the reason they use different cues, so whether it's the light, the color, or the iPad screens, these are different mental tasks where for memory, decision-making, hand-eye coordination. So I'm using those techniques to tweak how you handle stress. Now, it looks gamified, and that's the cool part about it. It's fun to do. But on the outside of it, when you're not doing the actual task, I teach the actual mental skills, which means your mindset on how to accommodate and adapt, because I'll have clients from little kids all the way to world-class athletes, and I'll see them do the task, and I'm like, okay, how about this? Before you go in, I want you to picture whatever mistake you made. I want you to see it as a fire. Now, follow me now. This is an actual technique. It's called error parking. So those at home can use this with your athletes. You can use it with anything. So the goal is to take mistakes and reframe them and make them lesser. So this is how error parking works. So I'll tell the athlete or the client, whatever, see the mistake, whatever it is. Let's say in football, let's use football. Dropping passes, right? A receiver dropping passes. Every time you drop a pass, instead of getting, oh man, why'd I drop it? Man, I suck. See it as a fire. Now you're the firefighter with a hose and you extinguish said fire, which is you getting mad about dropping passes. So why the reason we do this is because going back to how we talked about the neuron connections, right? Now you're making an actual neuron pattern in your brain that says, this is the problem, which is the drop passes. This is the issue. I'm frustrated. I can't get it out of my head. But I'm visualizing an actual neuron pattern that says, wait, those drop passes on fire, boom, it's out, move on. So it's not about ignoring it. It's not about just moving forward, because a lot of people say, get over it. That's fine, get over it. But we have to address it first. And the one thing with my industry, going back to what I do, is I make it tangible. One of my slogan is, I make the intangible tangible. Thinking is not something you can grab. I can't grab your thought. I can grab your bicep. I can see how big that is, how strong that is, right? I can't do that with your brain. But if I can make ways to make it more tangible, so I can say, all right, he messes up in these and this is his response. Now I know where to trigger him or her. I'll put more stress on that because I know they mess up when people talk in the ear. I have a drill where they'll wear these headphones like this and do one of my cognitive tasks, and it's a voice of me literally talking all the trash that they hate. I'll do a full like diagnostic of, so do you have issues with your performance? Yeah, I hate it when people do this and this. Do you have issue with your body image? Yeah, I feel like I'm overweight, because I work with a lot of MMA fighters and making weight is important. So I have clients who will say, I think I'm fat, I can't make weight, and they'll really be beat up about this. So guess what's in that audio when they're doing my drill? I'm talking a lot, and I give them, hey, I gotta go full in. And they're like, all right. And I say some hurtful stuff. So it's like, that's literally a way to get them adapted. So that's another technique that's called sledging. So you got just 2 free techniques on the house. So the first one is error parking, which is visualizing the actual mistake. It could be a fire. That's just one example. Or it could be a balled up piece of paper. Visualize yourself throwing it in the trash. But the goal is to take that irrational or irrelevant thought and disposing of it some way. It could be a fly, swat it. Get creative. That's the beauty with this. I get creative with it. I do all types of things. I actually have a way I do this with real time. I'll have like 20 pieces of paper balled up, and they'll do a drill. And when they really mess up, they'll take that actual piece, visualize the thought, throw it away. So now not only visualizing it, they're physically doing it. So that's error parking. And the other one is called sledging. So think about it. We play football. You're a DB, receivers talk trash, and vice versa. We talk trash back. So it's like, get acclimated to what you're going to hear. That's a problem I see a lot of coaches if we go the sport route, but you can apply this to anything in life. Most people don't train in the environment. When I say environment, I don't mean the setting. I mean the actual psychological stressors. Exactly. So if you're going to shoot free throws after practice for a coach, I need 20 free throws before you leave, but it's quiet and chill. When is it going to be like that in the game? Or even a job interview. Use this in a job interview. I do this myself when I used to do job interviews. I had an interview about 3 years ago with a big corporation, this addiction center that I had a potential to get a contract. It didn't pan out because the pandemic happened. Matter of fact, I should reach out to them again. It's been a while. But anyway, before the interview, I sat outside the office while I was waiting, slowing my breathing down because that lowers your heart rate. So that's another free tip. Slowing your breathing lowers your heart rate physiologically because you cannot be physiologically stressed and relaxed at the same time. That's a biological impossibility. And what I mean by that is if your heart rate increases, usually when you're stressed, you breathing, it slows it down with something called the vagus nerve. So the vagus nerve says, if he's breathing slow, it tells your brain that he can't be stressed right now physically because fight or flight, right? You heard that term. You can't be in a fight or flight state if you're breathing slow, right? Because if you're in fight or flight, so that's biohacking, right? You're hacking your brain to say, you do that for about 2-3 minutes, your heart's going to slow down and be calm. Now, it doesn't mean your brain slows down, but what's a better parameter to get your brain right? Where you're breathing hard and anxious or when you're calm and slow? Now, getting your brain right and your mind right, as I say, is dependent on what you do in your head, but you need to set the tone for it first. So those are 3 things I just indirectly, I don't know, I even got on that. Error parking, disposing of thoughts, sledging, getting used to training in an environment that's going to have the atrocities that you're going to hear, and then vagus nerve, breathing slowly to make your body physically relax. That's called the parasympathetic nervous system. You cannot be physically stressed and physically relaxed simultaneously. It's impossible because they work on 2 different energy systems or two different nervous systems. So by hacking your body, by slowing down that breathing, it tells your brain said he or she must be okay. Because if you're running for your life, you can't breathe slow. Think about that. Imagine you're running from a lion or a gunman or whatever it is. You're not going to be, it's impossible because you're literally trying to fight for your life. So your brain's saying, hey, if they're breathing slow, we got to be good. So what happens over time, like I said, you can practice this. You actually train your brain to lower that level quicker and quicker and quicker. So let's say you do that 3 to 5 minutes of slow breathing for a month. It's going to get to the point where when you get stressed, all you got to do is like 2 or 3 breaths and you're good. Because now your brain's got to the point where it knows like, oh, we're good. And I practice this myself. So I'm telling people, try this. It is like, just breathe. That's what people say. But do you actually practice it? So there's that. So yeah, that's what I do.